Welcome everybody. I've had a few people message me and ask me how I made these double end coils that are fat in the middle and narrow on each end. So that's what we're going to do today. I'm going to show you how I did this one. This I made with the 77 millimeter, the larger coil, but you can use the smaller one. I'm going to use this one today simply because it's smaller. Don't have to spool out as much wire, but the process, the steps are exactly the same, just a smaller size, that's all. Okay, so what we need to do, normally when you wrap just a single coil, you start the end of your wire, make your bend, and you wrap it down, and then if you want to continue on wrapping your copper or down a stick or cut it off. We're not going to cut it off today. We need to keep wrapping when we turn our jig around. So what we need to do is, when we're done wrapping, the end of our wire is going to be sticking out. So we need to know how much wire we're going to need to spool around this jig. And how you do that is get yourself a piece of string. Okay, the string is going to act as a substitute for your wire, only simply because it's easier to bend around here, stretch it back out, and then measure it to length. Copper wire would be too hard to do that. So put your string in here, leave yourself a little bit extra, about an inch, kind of hang on to it, and then just wrap it around in your grooves. Again, this is a substitute for your wire. This will tell you how much wire you're going to use. Okay, and again, leave yourself a little bit extra. So make sure you pinch it off here. Get your Sharpie. Put you a mark on it, just in case you end up dropping it, letting it go. Okay, now we got our mark. There's the end of our string. So get the tape measure out. Okay, get the end of your string, line it up to the into the tape measure, and just spool them both out together, holding on to this end, and then just stretch them out until you come to, there's your Sharpie mark. So we're looking at about 19 and a quarter. Okay, so we're going to need 19 and a quarter, 19 and a half inches of copper wire. Okay, ditch the string. In the copper wire, it doesn't have to be perfectly straight. I'll just kind of straighten it out a little bit. It just makes it easier to measure how much you need. And again, we're going to start at the end of the wire, just like we did the string. Okay, we need 19 and a half, 19 and a quarter. So right there we are. So hold on to that. Ditch the tape measure. Get your Sharpie out again. And put you a decent mark on there so you can see it. Okay. Now there's going to be our starting point. Okay, now what you're going to want to do is, we're not starting at the end of the wire this time. We have to start back here, because once we get done wrapping to the end of this, we want it a little bit inch or so sticking out, and then be done on that end. So what I'm going to do, and I always like to have a kink in here so I can put it in the groove, just makes it a little bit easier to hold on to. So you can kind of kink that. You don't have to if you don't want to. You can keep it straight, but just make sure that you have your Sharpie mark right about in there where you want. Okay? Hold on to it. Wrap your wire around in the groove. And down to the end. Twist it out. And voila. And this is a little bit longer, you'll notice, because we weren't being awfully exact. You could leave that extra on there if you wanted to. Not going to hurt nothing. If you don't like that and you want to clip it back, you can clip back. But the point is, we don't have a whole bunch of wires sticking out at this end that's going to be useless and waste. Okay, so now what we're going to do is take the jig out, Okay, there's the first end of our double coil. Okay, now I'm going to turn this back around this side, and I'm going to straighten this kink out a little bit because I don't need it in there no more. Okay, make sure you got your bend going. Okay, that looks pretty decent. Okay. Now we're going to take our jig. It was our starting point, our Sharpie mark was right there. So we're going to line it up pretty close to the same spot. Okay. Now this time we're not going to have that kink on it, so we're going to have to kind of hang on to it as best we can. And that's really not that hard. Now we're going to wrap it just like we did before, but now we're coming off of our spool. See? Wrap it around like you normally would, or as best as you can. Nice thing about this, things don't have to be absolute perfect. But sometimes we like to have them looking as nice as we can. Okay, so now we've came to our end. Now, if you're going to wrap this on down a stick, you don't want to cut this off. Take your jig out and finish this coil, and then you can put your dowel in there and then finish wrapping down the stick. So now what we're going to do is kind of open this up so we can get our jig out, kind of like cracking an egg. Give your jig a little twist like you're unscrewing a bolt. Fish it out. Now you'll see that the coil is kind of wampus right here. It's not a big deal. You can bend it back into shape. Just don't be in a rush. Get your spacing so it looks nice. Okay. Voila. A little bit more tweaking here. Get the alignment. That's all. And there you go.